Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Asadanandana Brajadana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Prasadam Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Prasadana Brajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tera Vanachari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jayo Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Tassa Samadvangas Abhaya Charanarvinda Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Paramahansa Parivrajacharya Stotra Tassa Samadvangas Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai Vishnupad Ananta Koti Vaishnava Vrinda Ki Jai Namacharya Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasti Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Shri Shri Radha Krishna Gopa Gopinath Shama Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai Bhakti Devi Tulasi Maharani Ki Jai Ganga Mai Ki Jai Yamuna Mai Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Harinam Sankirtane Ki Jai Grantharaj Srimad Bhagavatam Ki Jai Srila Prabhupada's Transcendental Book Distribution Ki Jai Gaur Pramanande Hari Hari Gaur Pancha Kalpatarihasya Krupa Sindhu Vacha Patitan Namo Namaha Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Samaveta Bhakta Vrinda Ki Jai Om Namah Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1, Chapter 5, Narada's instruction on Srimad Bhagavatam, Text 15. Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasata. Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasata. Svabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha. Svabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha. Yadvakyato dharma iti rata iti tara sthito. Yadvakyato dharma iti tara sthito. Namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasataha. Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasataha. Svabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha. Svabhava raktasya mahan vyatikramaha. Yadvakyato dharma iti tarah sthito. Yadvakyato dharma iti tarah sthito. Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Nata namanyate tasya nivaranam jana. Some of you can recite quickly.
Jugupsitam dharma krite nusasata.
Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasata.
Bhavaraktasya mahan vyatikramaha.
Bhavaraktasya mahan vyatikramaha.
Yadvakyato dharma itatara sthito.
Yadvakyato dharma iti tarah sthito.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam jana.
Namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha.
जुगुप्सितं धर्मकृते नुशासताः
Vinay, fan speed पूरा कम करो, एक में रखो. Jugups, why nobody reading?
जुगुप्सितं धर्मकृते नुशासताः
Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasata.
स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यतिक्रमः
Avraktasya mahan vyatikramaha.
यद्वाक्ययो धर्म इति तरास्थितो
Yadvakyato dharma iti tarah sthito.
न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः
Amanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Nikita,
Sir, Hare Hare Krishna.
bolo.
Jugupsatam dharma krite anusasatah
Jugupsitam dharma krute nusasata.
स्वभावरक्तस्य महान् व्यक्तिक्रमः
Svabharaktasya mahan vyatikramaha.
यद्वाक्यतो धर्म इति तरः स्थितितो
Yadvakyato dharma iti tarah sthito.
न मन्यते तस्य निवारणं जनः
Namanyate tasya nivaranam janaha. Jugupsitam, verily condemned. Dharma krite, for the matter of religion. Anusasata, instruction. Svabhava raktasya, naturally inclined. Mahan, great. Vyatikrama, unreasonable. Yat bhakyataha, under whose instruction. Dharmaha, religion. Iti, it is thus. Itaraha, the people in general. Sthitaha, fixed. Na, do not. Manyate, think. Tasya, of that. Nivaranam, prohibition. Janaha, they. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way in the name of religion. This is verily condemned as quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Please repeat. The people in general are naturally inclined to enjoy, and you have encouraged them in that way, in the name of religion. This is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable, because they are guided under your instructions. They will accept such activities in the name of religion and will hardly care for prohibitions. Purport. Srila Vyasadeva's compilation of different Vedic literature on the basis of regulated performance of fruitive activities, as depicted in Mahabharata and other literature, is condemned herewith by Srila Narada. The human being, by long material association, life after life, have a natural inclination by practice to endeavor to lord it over material energy. They have no sense of responsibility of human life. This human form of life is a chance to get out of clutches of illusory matter. The Vedas are meant for going back to Godhead, going back home, to evolve, to revolve in the cycle of transmigration in a series of lives numbering 8.4 million is an imprisoned life for the condemned conditioned souls. The human form of life is a chance to get out of this imprisoned life. As such, the only occupation of human being is to re-establish his lost relationship with Krishna. Under the circumstances, one should never be encouraged in making a plan for sense enjoyment in the name of religious functions. Such diversions of the human energy results in a misguided civilization. Srila Vyasadeva is the authority in Vedic explanation in the Mahabharata, etc. His encouragement in sense enjoyment in some form or other is a great barrier for spiritual advancement, because the people in general will not agree to renounce material activities which hold them in material bondage. At a certain stage of human civilization, when such material activities in the name of religion, as sacrificing animals in the name of yajna, were too much rampant, the Lord incarnated himself as Buddha and decried the authority of Vedas in order to stop animal sacrifice in the name of religion. This was foreseen by Narada, and therefore he condemned such literature. The fish eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod. The flesh eaters still continue to perform animal sacrifice before some demigod or goddess in the name of religion, because in some of the Vedic literature, such regulated sacrifices are recommended. They are so recommended to discourage flesh eating, but gradually the purpose of such religious activities is forgotten. And the slaughterhouses become prominent. This is because foolish materialist men do not care to listen to others who are actually in a position to explain Vedic rites. We'll just first discuss about the first paragraph. Thank you for joining in this morning Bhagavatam class. It is always refreshing when early morning we remember Krishna's activity. What we are hearing is Narada is chastising Vyasadeva. Vyasadeva is a literary incarnation of Lord Krishna, and he made a mistake. Mistake was he encouraged all categories of people to perform dharma according to their nature. And there are some people, their nature is to eat flesh. That is why you'll find there are many goddesses like Kali in Calcutta, where thousands of goats are sacrificed every day, such that people can satisfy their tongue. This is very condemned. Prabhupada is quoting Buddha. When Buddha came, if you go to the history, Brahmanism was so rampant, authoritative, and corrupted. The Brahmins were the first to eat meat in the name of sacrifice, because anything you sacrifice, that becomes sanctified. In Manu Samhita it is written, anything sanctified in sacrifice, if somebody doesn't eat, doesn't honor, then he goes to hell. And Brahmanas were so corrupt that they encouraged animal sacrifice. And poor animals were butchered every day in the name of Veda. And that is why Krishna himself came as Buddha to stop animal sacrifice, to stop the wrath of Brahmanism. And he also set aside Vedas, so that people for the time being must forget Veda. Otherwise, their condition with Veda is only to eat flesh. And so these are all historical things. In this material world, whatever you bring in, that will be corrupted. Because the human psyche is so conditioned to sense gratification. Anything pure you bring in, it doesn't take much time to be polluted. And this is exactly what we see currently. India as a nation understood that food offered to Krishna is sanctified, prasadam. And people knew prasadam means only vegetarian food can be offered to Krishna. As a human form of life, we can only be purified. Agyasisto sano santaha mucchante sarvakil visay vunjanti te dogham papa patanti ye atma karana. Because eating is the beginning of spiritual life. If our eating is full of violence, how can anybody become spiritual? In my early days of Krishna consciousness, one Prabhupada disciple, he was living in Vrindavan. His name is Prabhu. It's a German. He had a Sankirtan band, and he used to go to different parts of India and preach, keeping Vrindavan as his base. And once Prabhu came, gave a talk in IIT Delhi, and he was telling that a menu of Pope is the head of Christian society. He sits in Vatican City. I have visited Vatican City, and there, Vatican City is in Rome, near Rome, Italy, and it's a separate country itself. It's a sovereign place. So this place, Vatican City, Pope sits, and Prabhu was giving his menu in the lunch. And his menu in the lunch has 6 different non-veg items. There is goat meat, there is chicken meat, there is crab, there are fish, I don't remember, there are 6 varieties of meat item in his plate. He eats. So can someone whose eating habit is so violent can make people peaceful? Not possible. But that is one of the big religion in the society. So Kali Yuga is so distracting, so vicious in its atmosphere. If Prabhupada, I was hearing Prabhupada lecture today, saying the moment you become a devotee, you will immediately find enemies all around you. Because you have become a devotee, all non-devotees will become your enemy. Prabhupada said, this is natural. This is natural because as a devotee, I'll condemn animal killing. I'll condemn intoxication. I'll condemn intoxication and illicit sex. Not that I'm condemning others, I condemn them such that I don't indulge myself in such activities. And those who seek truth, those who come in contact with me, I must speak to them. Because if anybody wants to progress in spiritual life, he must know what is right and what is wrong. It is not that everything is right, no. Like one Buddhist said, he was asked this question, Your Highness, are you a vegetarian? Then he said, answer was, I'm neither a vegetarian nor a non-vegetarian. Whatever I get, I accept that as God's grace. But is it not disgrace to Lord Buddha? Lord Buddha personally came to stop animal violence. And a Buddhist is able to say, neither I'm a vegetarian. I'm not saying that, for example, as a devotee, we are also not vegetarian. We are Krishna prasadam. Krishna prasadam, if you like that way. So, but doesn't mean that you can offer anything to Krishna. No, Krishna has his liking. Whatever he likes, you must provide him. He likes leafy vegetable. He likes all milk item and milk product. He likes rice, dal, chapati. So those are the things you can offer to Krishna, and then you can enjoy. You cannot offer anything and everything. But unfortunately, demoniac mentality is such that they would like to define their own religion. I had asked many Mormons are also Christian group, and they agree that they should not eat meat. At least a group of Mormons I know, I have talked to them, and they agree. And there are many, many famous people like Plato, Aristotle, Benjamin Franklin. They were all vegetarian. They're also Christians, but they're vegetarian. But is it not shocking? The Pope, the head of the church, when he takes six non-veg items every day in the lunch. You can imagine. Prabhu once came here, and he has come a couple of times or more to my house here. And Prabhu was telling, I think his aunt is a very devout Christian. She's celibate from her childhood. But he was telling that she eats non-veg item profusely. And he was expressing his, he was bewildered actually, how his aunt could eat meat and still maintain celibacy. Whereas we have seen in our Krishna conscious movement, maintaining celibacy is most difficult. People becoming vegetarian easy, but maintaining celibacy. And he was telling that my aunt is celibate, but not very good. So the point is, whether you are celibate or non-vegetarian, vegetarian doesn't matter. What matters whether you have pleased Krishna. So obviously you cannot please Krishna by becoming a non-vegetarian. This is not possible. And as we are seeing, Narada is chastising Vyasadeva very heavily. He's saying, you have encouraged all those activities which are abominable in the name of religion in Vedas. You have recommended somewhere people can drink, somewhere they can eat meat or flesh, and you have made those provisions. And these are verily condemned. He's saying this is verily condemned and is quite unreasonable. Quite unreasonable. We see Narada converting Mrugari, a pure devotee. Mrugari was a hunter, and in his family tradition, everybody killed animals, but they didn't kill the animal completely. They will keep the animal half killed until animal suffers, and finally dies a cruel death. And Mrugari will take those and sell in the marketplace. And that is how these hunters, by their family tradition, was selling flesh. And there are people who would come and purchase that flesh. So once Narada was visiting earthly planet, and by the arrangement of providence, he entered into the very jungle in which the hunter or Mrugari has gone to hunt or to kill animals. And suddenly, Srila Narada discovers somewhere a wild boar is suffering from the piercing of the arrows, but not dead. A few steps ahead, he found a deer half killed and suffering. As he went further and further, he's finding animal this side, that side, And suddenly he realized, you can kill the animal, but can you torture them so much? He's a saint. So he wanted to know who is that person who's doing this. So as he inquired around the jungle, that created some noise. So nearby animals like deers and others, they fled. That made the hunter very angry, very angry. The hunter came out and confronted Srila Narada. Who are you? Why are you stopping me from executing my duty? Narada said, sorry, my dear sir, I didn't know that you are the same person. Actually, I'm looking for you. You have killed all these animals? And Narada was so respectful, so dignified in his dealing with the hunter. Hunter, instead of becoming very angry, started reciprocating with the questioning process of Narada. So Narada said, yes. Hunter said, yes, I'm the killer because this is my family tradition. And I will take these animals and sell, and whatever I get, I maintain my family. Narada says, why didn't you kill them full? He said, no, this is how my family forefathers have been doing, and I have been trained like that. But Narada said, don't you feel frightened of the suffering that you are going to go through because of this cruelty? And then Mrugari said, I didn't know that there is there would be a reaction to, because this is how I maintain my family, and I have right to maintain my family. So then Narada said, yes, you have right to maintain family, but doesn't mean that you can maintain your family at the expense of others by giving torture to others. You can't do that. And by this time, Mrugari, seeing Narada's, Srila Narada's effulgence, his peaceful demeanor, and his dignified talking, he said, I don't know, sir, that I have to suffer in hell because of this. And suddenly he said, you see that I'm doing this just to maintain my family, but if I get something else to maintain my family, I'll surely do, which will not cause me to enter into hell. So Narada said, yes, if you accept my advice, I can help you to reinstate in the process, in the path of dharma. And Mrugari got it and became agreed. And he fell at the lotus feet of Narada and said, you are my teacher, I am your disciple, please accept me. A few moment association with Narada, a person like Hunter gives up everything. And Narada initiates him. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And then he instructs Mrugari that please go plant a tulsi leaf, a tulsi plant. And there you sit down and chant 64 rounds. And Mrugari agrees. अब देखो आजकल जमाने में अगर if I tell you please chant 16 round, you people say it's too difficult. And then I say you start at least with 2, make 2 to 4, 4 to 8, 8 to 12, 12 to 16. Gradually you can increase. But here Narada told Mrugari, and Mrugari accepted. And Mrugari went back home. he cleansed his house, and whatever flesh and everything was there in his house, he threw it and planted a tulsi plant and started chanting. Fortunately for Mrugari, his family members agreed with him. And suddenly, those who were flesh eater, they came as usual to the house of Mrugari to purchase some flesh. Instead of getting flesh, they saw Mrugari chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. And so they were in shock. So they were suddenly disappointed. But then they came back to their respective villages and they started whispering that आज मांस नहीं मिला, क्या हुआ? ना मुर्गारी भक्त बन गया. So they whispered in everybody's ear, मुर्गारी भक्त बन गया. And those were innocent villagers, those were dharmic. They all wanted to see Mrugari because they knew Mrugari is the only person in the nearby villages who used to sell flesh. And those days, very few people used to eat flesh. And when they heard that Mrugari has become a devotee, so they all came with a plate filled with rice and vegetable, fruits. And this is how I have seen. Whenever we were in villages, a Brahman would come, we will arrange a plate because these items will be there in our temple room and we know what to do. So when a Brahmana comes, so we will fill the plate with the rice and then we'll pluck some fresh vegetable from our kitchen garden, put it there, and some coin would be there in the top and will be handed over to the Brahmana. He will put everything in his joli and will go. So this is the tradition. Very beautiful Vedic tradition. See, if we don't sustain a tradition, we'll be degrading to animals, animalistic life. And this Mrugari, who was killing animals, now has become a devotee. And people are bringing things. So he will give everything to his wife and said, you cook. And he will engage everyone chanting, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Rama, Hare Hare.
So while Sankirtan is going on, his wife is cooking huge pots of khichdi. And then everybody is fed prasadam. And then every day in Mrugari's house, there is a big festival, Annakutta ceremony. Once Parvat Muni was traveling in the sky way with Naraji. And Naraji has, because Parvat Muni and Narada, they're very close friends, very bosom friend. And when he was going, and Parvata Muni came through that forest, he said, "Hey, Narada, you had told me that you have a disciple here, right?" He said, "Yes, yes, yes. I am desirous to see him." "No issue, let's go." So they descended and proceeded to the ashram of Mrugari. As soon as Mrugari heard that his spiritual master is coming, his heart knows no bounds. He was feeling so happy, so extraordinarily happy. And with the garlands, he rushed to greet his spiritual master. So as he is going to meet his spiritual master to garland him, he saw on the way there are rows of ants, and he didn't want to kill them by stepping over them. He jumped, right? And Parvata Muni noticed it. And then Parvata Muni said, "I'm not really surprised by the behavior of a disciple who once upon a time was a cruel animal hunter." He said, anybody who takes to devotional life immediately gets transformed to touchstone, becomes a gem of a person. He will exhibit all divine qualities. So now his heart doesn't tell him, permit him to kill even an ant. It's a testimony to our literature, to our scripture, that anybody who practices Krishna consciousness will be a saintly person. Chipram bhavati dharmatma saswat santi nigacchati kaunteya pratijanihi name bhakta pranashyati. Chipram bhavati dharmatma. Very soon, anybody who takes up Krishna consciousness, very soon he will become a devotee. Very soon, very soon. Doesn't take much time. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Subhendu, you can read loudly the next rest of the chapter and the rest of the purport. And so I will take 2 minutes break, but you read and let everybody hear.
Hare Krishna. I can read. He's in meeting. From where we have to start? In the Vedas. Okay. In the Vedas, it is distinctly said that the perfection of life is never to be attained either by voluminous work or by accumulation of wealth or even by increasing the population, but it is so attained only by renunciation. The materialistic men do not care to listen to such injunctions. According to them, the so-called renounced order of life is meant for those who are unable to earn their livelihood because of some corporeal defects, or for persons who have failed to achieve prosperity in family life. In histories like the Mahabharata, of course, there are topics on transcendental subjects along with material topics. The Bhagavad Gita is there in the Mahabharata. The whole idea of the Mahabharata culminates in the ultimate instruction of the Bhagavad Gita, that one should relinquish all other engagements and should engage oneself solely and fully in surrendering unto the lotus feet of Lord Shri Krishna. But men with materialistic tendencies are more attracted to the politics, economics, and philanthropic activities mentioned in the Mahabharata than to the principal topic, namely the Bhagavad Gita. The compromising spirit of Vyasadeva is directly condemned by Narada, who advises him to directly proclaim that the prime necessity of human life is to realize one's eternal relation with the Lord and thus surrender unto him without delay.
One more paragraph is there.
A patient suffering from a particular type of malady is almost always inclined to accept eatables which are forbidden for him. The expert physician does not make any compromise with the patient by allowing him to take partially what he should not at all take. In the Bhagavad Gita, it is also said that a man attached to fruitive work should not be discouraged from his occupation, for gradually he may be elevated to the position of self-realization. This is sometimes applicable for those who are only dry empiric philosopher without spiritual realization. But those who are in the devotional line need not be always so advised. Hare Krishna.
Thank you. Thank you, Anu. Because this topic came, I will tell you a recent thing. I think 3-4 days back, I called Suvendu. And I don't know how many of you know Dr. Suvendu Samant. He has joined IIT Kanpur as a professor, assistant professor. His name is Sri Guru Gauranga Das. And so I asked him, what are you doing? He said that he is preparing paneer sabji. And he wants to feed the devotees paneer sabji such that they remain healthy. Right? And actually, when everybody were taking prasadam in my house, so the doctor told us that feed paneer and gulab jamun, rasgulla to the devotees so that they remain healthy, strong. And then I got the information that you really want to improve your immunity, then you should take very halka bhojan, very light bhojan. Okay? And immunity will be strengthened when you take herbs and the juices like Mosambi juice and these like coconut water. So these kind of things, if you take, your immunity will be strengthened. So you can easily see here, different people will give you different advice. So I told him, this is the last time you feed paneer to devotees. And don't again cook paneer until everybody becomes healthy. So this is exactly spiritual life. Different people may be advised differently. Somebody is attached to paneer, you don't tell him that you stop eating paneer. We tell everyone, you chant Hare Krishna. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. We encourage everyone to chant Hare Krishna. That is our, evergreen advice to everyone. You chant. And there will be people who will be very much interested in paneer, and there will be people, those who are satisfied with the mosambi, or fruit juice, salads. So Prabhupada, many places, he said, as far as spiritual life is concerned, one man's food, that means spiritual practice, may be another man's poison. Right? Somebody who has advanced, he's here, and somebody's here. Here one may eat very opulent prasadam, but here, at this place, he is going to eat frugally. But if he starts eating very opulent prasadam, immediately he goes down. So one man's food can become another man's poison. So this person is eating nice prasadam, full prasadam. I'll tell you my story. because this I will never forget. This is my first visit to Mayapur. And, we have gone there because there is Gaur Mandal Parikrama. This is 1994 February. And my friend, one of my friends, three of us, we went from IIT Delhi for Gaur Mandal Parikrama. So, for us, it was like, Tirtha, we are going for Tirtha. As soon as we got down at Navadip, first thing we did is we took bath in the river, Ganga. And after we took bath, all our dhoti got wet, and we, put it on the side of the ghat so that they get dried. And we took our mala and we started chanting. And when dhoti got dried, our other dresses got dried, we folded them, put it there, and then took a boat. And that time was when we reached Navadip, almost 2 o'clock. We are anyway feeling very hungry. Whatever little prasadam we carried to IIT Delhi, it has been finished long back. And those days we are very, very strict in terms of what we eat. And so we are feeling very hungry. And then we reached, we took bath. And I remember, we were feeling so thirsty. Ganga water we just drank in using our palm. And we felt much relieved. And then took a boat and went to reached Sridham Mayapur. For the first time, I'm seeing what is Sridham Mayapur. And then we, in Gada Bhavan, we checked in and then proceeded to meet Prabhupada Maharaj. And we had a darshan, nice darshan of the Maharaj. He was very happy. He was staying along with Niranjan Maharaj. And we were feeling very blissful. Oh, we have come to place of, great sannyasis. And, we were in moon. And then Maharaj gave some instruction and said, because next day morning itself, we are going to start the parikrama. And we have carried a tent of Maharaj because Maharaj also will be there, and there will be so many Maharajs, there will be a tent. I'm not going to talk about the Navadip Mandal Parikrama because that's a big topic. But so once we had a darshan of Maharaj and we received the instruction of what we have to do and all those, and we came out. Now we really felt very hungry. And still it is not 5 o'clock, because 5 o'clock, those days, brahmachari prasadam, 9 o'clock and 5 o'clock. And so we were thinking where to eat. Then we went to a restaurant. This restaurant is just, that time it was near where Prabhupada Kutir is there. So there was a restaurant earlier time, very near to Prabhupada quarter. Prabhupada Kutir. So there in that restaurant we took, I think maybe we took a dosa or something. Because one of us who has already visited, he said prasadam in brahmachari mess is just nectarian. I remember we have to pay 8 rupees only, 8 rupees. Those days, 8 rupees for brahmachari prasadam. So before we went to restaurant, we have already purchased 8 rupees coupon. And then we had dosa, and because we are hungry, so we started even giving order something else. Almost we are full. And then 3 of us, we went, we were chanting, we were sitting in the garden and chanting. And suddenly it became 5 o'clock. So one of the friends said, it's 5 o'clock. We have coupon, we must eat. And so one of us said, no, I'm not feeling hungry, I will not go. But that friend who has already tasted, he said, no, we must go. This is... And when he said like that, I was always in favor of Bengali and Odia prasadam. So I was not satisfied with this dosa and vada. But the third friend who was satisfied, he was a South Indian. So he was happy with the dosa and vada. And so I agreed with my other friend and went to Brahmachari mess. The third one didn't go. 2 of us, we went. And one after another item is coming. How many items we don't know those days. And we are eating. And we didn't know how much to eat, but we are eating and we are like this. And those days, we were intoxicated, means for Gaur Arati. Gaur Arati means so much of dance, so much of kirtan. But we have eaten up to this. I was not even able to walk. And then I realized what a mistake I have done. Okay. And while everybody is walking from one end to other end, dancing, and I am feeling pain in my stomach. Then I said, oh, wow, this mistake I must not do. Right? And by Krishna's arrangement, now, being a diabetic, I have to take, food now. It has specific magnitude. I cannot even 1 katori dal, 1 katori sabji. That's it. 1 katori rice, all measured. Right? So you cannot. So the idea is that once you want to make progress in spiritual life, you would like to take more and more Krishna's name and less of other things. Right? So spiritual life must be relished, must be enjoyed by higher and higher goalpost. Now I reached here, I should not go down. If I reached here, I should go up, 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 up. Like that. If we don't plan our spiritual life, we'll become a flop. Right? Because you cannot be stagnant in a spiritual life. Either you go down or go up and up. Of course, in up, when you go, you may go very little up, very little up. But when you go down, you go almost like light years down. That is the danger of spiritual life. I think somewhere Prabhupada was giving the analogy. Suppose you are traveling against the current. So it may appear you are swimming and you may feel, oh, why should I invest so much of energy? Anyway, I'm not moving. Let me not put energy. The moment you think like that, you are down the stream, almost miles down. Okay? But if you spend your energy, you may go little bit, because current, you are going against the current. And that is what is spiritual life. Spiritual life is we are going against the current. Because here, this is material world. This world is against devotional service. This world is designed in such a way we cannot practice Krishna consciousness properly. So those who accept Krishna consciousness we have to go against the current. And because we have to go against the current, and hence, it is a very difficult thing. Maybe our progress is very little, but we should be satisfied with that. And if we relax, suddenly we'll be down the hill and everything is gone. Again, you have to start fresh. And where you were there previously, to come there, you have to spend more energy, more difficulty. Your speed will be slower. So that is why in spiritual life, we should never make any mistake. We should always remain under the guidance of a teacher. You see that in spiritual life, if you don't accept our relationship to be eternal, then we are not practicing spiritual life. If you take our relationship as that of mundane relationship, then we will not be able to make any progress in spiritual life. This point we have to understand very clearly. Our relationship is eternal. We have to go together. We have to tolerate each other's nonsense and still make progress. And when we have a trust factor in Krishna, we are all got together because of Krishna, and we want to make progress in Krishna consciousness. So there has to be certain standard, certain manner, certain etiquette, certain values, and we have to imbibe those values. Then we can make progress. Okay? Spiritual life cannot be practiced haphazardly. It's a very serious business. And if we value our spiritual life, then we are human beings. If we don't value our spiritual life, we take it lightly, then we are animals. So I request all of you to take our spiritual life very seriously, because even slight deviation can take us to the abyss of hell. So, dear devotees, please think about it. Let's not make any mistake. Okay. Thank you very much. Any question?
Hare Krishna, sir. Dandavat Pranam.
Who is speaking? Chahat?
Yes, sir.
Bolo.
Sir, in Bhagavad Gita 7.16, Krishna describes 4 kinds of people who approach him. So 2 of them are Jigyasu and Gyani. So Prabhupada calls them inquisitive and searching for the absolute. He translates them like that. So, my first part of the question was that how can we differentiate between Jigyasu and Gyani?
Jigyasu is interested in information, new information. But Gyani is interested in the absolute truth. Gyani is highly realized. He realizes something must be existing, because of which everything is appearing to be existing, but they are not existing. By seeing the temporariness of the world, a Gyani has realized the external form of this world is non-existent. So he looks at that which is existent, and he's interested only in that which is existing. The eternal feature of the absolute truth is very much ingrained in a Gyani. Whereas a Jigyasu, he has not entered into the tattva of absolute truth. He doesn't know any tattva. Like all of you, by hearing so much, you know Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan. Brahman is the eternal aspect of the absolute truth. Paramatma is all-pervading aspect of the absolute truth, and Bhagavan is the complete form of the absolute truth. But the jigyasu, he is just interested in something, like suppose you tell a jigyasu, a lizard lives for thousands of years. Huh? Is it so? So his eyes becomes very big when you give him new information. So that is jigyasu.
Thank you, sir. Prabhupada translates jigyasu as inquisitive. So someone was asking me that when Jnani becomes a devotee, when we become devotee, do we lose our inquisitive nature, or do we can we still be inquisitive as?
No, you are inquisitive about spiritual truth.
Yes.
A normal jigyasu is inquisitive of anything and everything. Okay.
Yes.
Like you are a biologist, and you saw yesterday or day before yesterday there was a Nobel Prize for DNA editing,
Yes.
gene editing, right?
Yes.
So and I find it's a very horrible thing, because you are playing havoc with God's law. Suppose you have committed some crime in previous lives, you must go through the suffering because of that, because then only your Atma, you'll be able to get back to your state of Atma, right?
Yes.
Now you are fiddling with that process of saying that I will do genetic editing, and by that, I will alleviate you from your cancer, this and that and that. I think that is very ridiculous, and they have given Nobel Prize for that. And I condemn very much this whole thing. Whatever it is, because this will be certainly misused. And more important is that the so-called editing they would do, I don't think that they can do it properly, because they are, in the most likely they will create by this process more demoniac mentality than divine mentality. So it's a cause of concern. And 2 days back, I think they have been given a Nobel Prize, and I'm really in shock of this. But then this is Kali Yuga. But this is what is inquisitive, right? It looks very nice. That means you can really edit, you can cut that which is bad, and you can keep that which is good, and looks so nice, so wonderful. But one thing I can tell you, the genetic editing only can help them of the gross body. What about subtle body? So this is also I was thinking about. That is why I told you to do this genetic thing, because this will be a good. You have shifted now to genetic, right?
Yes, sir. Genetics of bacteria. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So I had told you to do this research because it will help us. But anyhow, the point of what I was thinking, meditating on this, is that the subtle body also has its own genetic. I don't think they can touch it. Even if they try to do the genetic of the gross body. So then I was thinking, okay, Krishna has given some independence, they will fiddle with it. But they cannot do. And that would increase the mental disorder even more. I can guarantee the so-called genetic editing will increase mental disorder. They are saying that they can alleviate mental disorder. I don't agree, because they have no idea. They think mental disorder is because of disorder in gross body. No, mental disorder is because of disorder in subtle body. Okay. So these are some of the things that, we being part of this world, sometimes, we don't want to hear this, but when we hear, we also think about it. You ask this question, and I'm sick for 2 days, very sick. I have this cold, and my throat is not good, and still I'm speaking. But I'm still aware of your progress and genetic thing, and they have done all this nonsense. But it is not, I have invested my time on that. So, yes, as a devotee, we also remain inquisitive of things around us, because that is necessary, because although this world is not ours, but we still live in this world. Okay? We are not of this world, but we are in this world. So hence we have to have certain amount of inquisitiveness about the world around us. So that's for sure. Is that fine with you?
Thank you. Yes, sir. Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir.
Are Chahat, what is your name? Tarak Chaitanya.
Sir, Chaitanya Bhav Das.
Are Chaitanya Bhav Das. Chaitanya Bhav. So, okay. Chaitanya Bhav Das ki jai ho. Amrit Panda, how come Mrugari was able to relinquish all sinful activities once for all, but we cannot after repeated attempts? Because you are not sincere to your teacher. If you have full respect for your teacher, if you really follow him properly, see what happens. We are all selfish individuals. We never think of Krishna's interest or teacher's interest. We think of our own interest. In this case of Mrugari was able to think of his spiritual master's interest and Krishna's interest. Recently, I am seeing that how there are students whom I nourished as children, as my own children, and they have their own selfish interest, and they made that an issue and revolted. I said, thank you very much. I can't do much about it. So you can't make any progress in that. You will not make any progress once you are selfish. Spiritual practice means you must give up your selfish interest. Otherwise, you can't make any progress. Okay. I think that's all we have. Let me see who are all participated today. Sudhir Jhalali Mudi, Abhishek, Ajay Gudla, Amrit Panda, Bapi Sarkar, Chahat Upreti, Devendra Upadhyay, Dilip Kumar, Himanshu Ranjan, Jitendra Soni, Jivnes Khushbu, Lila Govind, Madhusudan Mukund, Manish Yadav, Nankari BBC, there are 7-8 devotees there. Nankari BBC Y2, Padma Charan also has joined. Piyush Sehgal, Ram Krishna, Chodappa, Garu, Ritu Bhandari, Santosh, Saurav, Subhendu, Tarun, Usha Jaisimha, Kalyani Mataji, Vinay Chauhan, Ajay Gudla. Thank you. Thank you all for joining. Vancha kalpataruvesya, krupa sindhuvya evacha, patitanang pavanebhyo, vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna.